Hello everyone, and welcome back to today's episode of the Cellar TV. What we're trying today is one of our brand newest wines right onto the cellar, which is very exciting, and one of the first times that this wine has ever actually been seen in New Zealand. It is from Pheasant winery, which is one of the leading wineries in all of Georgia. Now that's not Georgia the state of America, but rather Georgia the country. So this is quite exciting to be trying wines from up in Central Europe, which is, well, why it is so exciting, I should say, is because these wines rarely, from up in that part of the world, rarely actually leave or are exported out of those particular countries. Not many Georgian wines actually do leave Georgia, so it is quite exciting to be trying some of the best, or what is regarded as some of the best as well. So this is an orange wine, or what they would call, and what they call here on the label, an amber wine. And an amber wine, or an orange wine, is essentially a white wine which has been made like a red wine. So it has had some time macerating on its skins and or fermented on its skins as well, which means that it goes from having that sort of pale yellowy greeny colour to this beautiful sort of electric copper. Yeah, so it's beautiful really. And also because of the fact that it spent that extra time on skins, and for those of you that aren't aware, not just the colour pigments and all the rest are actually found in the skins, but the majority of all the aromatic compounds as well. So the longer something spends on its skins, not only will it become deeper in colour, like this particular wine, which has spent a few months on its skins, but also it shall become a lot more intense as far as the aromatics are concerned as well, which is quite exciting. So as I said, this is from Pheasant's Tears, and we'll give you a little bit of a close-up. I hope that's looking good for you. This is the 2016 vintage of their Rkatsiteli. And yes, so Rkatsiteli is one of the oldest grape varietals known to man. It goes back about 6, perhaps longer, 6,000 years old. Now, the Georgians themselves have actually been making wine for roughly 8,000 years, which is a long time, if you think about it, and they are regarded as some of the original viticulturists of the world, and also, of course, some of the most the earliest winemakers of the world. And wine has been made in Georgia and this sort of part of the world, and Armenia and all the rest, before the Greeks and the Romans got to it, which is where people, generally speaking, think wine actually started. Anyway, so, oh, and I should mention as well, this is from the Rkatsiteli region, which is sort of inland Georgia. Anyway, so let's give this a little sniff. On the nose, really concentrated, and it's quite interesting actually, because I shall mention this now, that I did a quick tasting of this wine also with a sort of a straight Rkatsiteli, as in a white Rkatsiteli, not an orange Rkatsiteli like this, and it's from Dr. Constantine Frank, which is from America, or rather upstate New York, which is one of the wines that we actually personally import into the country. So we did that a second ago. Just shot that video, and the link for that will be down below, and also you can find it on the rest of the channel as well. Anyway, what was quite interesting was before this was a lot more sort of candied pineapple and candied mango, which it still is to a sort of a great degree, but for me now a lot of those sort of beautiful brooding peaches and sort of nectarine characteristics, so those real nectarine skin. Oh, it's beautiful really now on the nose. And this is interesting because I've actually, for that video, I made sure that this was decanted about an hour out, because especially, I mean, you should really get into the habit of just decanting your wines, and you don't have to have a big fancy decanter. As you can see, we've got a decanter here, which I like to keep on my desk, which is literally just filled of last week's conquests. No, it's a little bit more than last week's conquests, but yes, a bunch of corks. We like to keep corks, because, well, why not? We make cork boards and all the rest out of them. Anyway, you don't need a big fancy decanter like this. Not that this is all that fancy. You just literally need, well, not a bucket, but a bowl or a Pyrex jug or something like this, and literally just pour the wine into it, give it a little bit of a swirl around, and then use the funnel and put it back in the wine. It's all just about getting air in and around the actual wines themselves to make them just sort of open up and stretch out. If you can imagine wines, especially something like this, which is so complex and so loaded and packed in with flavour, if you can imagine this, they're sitting there with a cork or a screw cap, in their bottle for so long without any oxygen. They're not breathing, they're just sort of sitting there in hibernation. And if you just pour a glass straight out like that, then of course it's going to be a little bit more closed off and all the rest. And this is why you often see us doing things like this at wine tastings. So make sure you get your decanter out. It, as I said, doesn't have to be anything fancy. Pyrex jug, even a bucket, assuming it hasn't just been used for the washing, or something like this, you know, a bucket like this, whatever, just chuck it in there, get some air around it, and if you're wanting to make it look fancy, then put it back in the bottle, or get a proper decanter, it doesn't really matter. Just get some air around it, because you really, really will notice that once those little tannins and the aromatic compounds, they go from being all closed in like this, once they sort of open up and stretch out, then that's like flowers, you know. Flowers are boring when they're all closed up in the beginning of the day, but come the, you know, the afternoon or whatever, then flowers look beautiful, don't they? So just think of that like aromatic compounds as well. Anyway, enough of that spiel. So anyway, on the nose, it's, as I said, lots of that sort of peachy characteristics, those dried mango, a little bit of that candied tangelo, a little bit of candied tangerine on the nose, which is rather lovely. And for me as well, there's sort of this baked bread characteristic coming through now a lot more for me. Anyway, let's give it a little taste. So, as I mentioned before, you've got to remember, of course, that orange wines are going to have a little bit of tannin there. So there is a little bit of a tannic grip for this particular wine, as you can expect, because of the fact that the grapes' skins have actually been in the wine, either fermenting with it or macerating. So, as I mentioned, of course, that with the colour that comes out, there's also a little bit of tannin that comes out. However, it's not that harsh on this particular wine. Some orange wines can be, but this is not that harsh at all. So we've got these lovely tannins which sort of just melt right onto your palate, and in all honesty, they don't really block the fruit or block the acidity here. There's a lot of acidity. Rkatsiteli is similar to Riesling in the fact that it's got very, very high acid, and it's quite nice because I can imagine if you were to leave this particular really, really quite clearly ripe Rkatsiteli as just a straight white wine, and if you were to not put any sort of skin contact in it at all, it would be very piercing and very intense on your palate, whereas this little bit of that skin contact helps sort of just bring it out, flesh it all out, and also helps to sort of add a floral component which combats against all that acidity. So as I say, on the palate, getting a lot more of that sort of floral, a little bit of rosemary here as well, which is quite nice. And those beautiful sort of herb characteristics coming through, but still that lovely sort of nectarine, that candied and dried mango characteristics are really just filling up the whole entire palate. On the finish for me, which is quite a long finish, then you are getting a little bit more sort of quince, just a little bit of sort of fresh fig as well on the palate, which is quite exciting. Anyway, this has been the Pheasant's Tears, the Georgian wine, Rkatsiteli from the Kakheti region, and the best part about this, I think, is the fact that it's not too crazy as far as pricing is concerned. A little bit more than your everyday wine, perhaps, but it's $45. And for something that's as exciting and rare as an interesting like this, then $45 really is a little bit of a splurge, but it's a fun and it's a good splurge, and something I think you'll really, really enjoy because it is just so different and so exciting and so unique. Anyway, make sure that you do like away and comment away and let us know what you thought of the video and also the wines here, and also if you've mentioned or tried any other Georgian wines yourself. As I said, there was a tasting comparing this to an American, not here anymore, an American Rkatsiteli, which was made just as a white wine. The video link for that will be down below. All the information for Pheasant's Tears, and so you can actually buy some Pheasant's Tears wines yourselves, is also down below for you. And of course, please do subscribe and check out a few of our other videos whilst you're at it. I've been Connal Finlay. This has been The Cellar. Cheers.